21.
Let's not act like children.
You are a child.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most notable exchanges, pressing issues addressed, and significant moments from the first debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, which could influence who will win control of the White House in 2024.
And think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties?
Number 10, the Biden-Trump rematch. Seeing these two figures battle it out on stage in itself is a monumental moment. Neither President Biden nor former President Trump has participated in a debate since they last faced off in the 2020 presidential cycle.
You were a senator, and
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were
president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
4 years later, this was the first time Americans had the opportunity to see either of the major candidates debating this election season, since neither candidate took the stage during the primary season.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern: the economy.
Remaining committed to Biden, the Democratic Party opted not to hold primary debates, and Trump declined to participate in the crowded Republican primary debates, arguing his lead over his opponents made it unnecessary for him to join them on stage. Looking back a few months later, he wasn't wrong.
And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best.
Number 9, the debate's historical backdrop. One of the most interesting moments of the debate came before either candidate stepped on stage.
It really wasn't until 1976 when, after Jerry Ford had pardoned President Nixon and he was trailing in the polls, that we went back to having debates, and we've had them ever since.
This was the first presidential debate in decades to not be set up by the Commission on Presidential Debates. Since the 1988 presidential election, the Bipartisan Commission has overseen presidential debates. But in 2022, the Republican National Committee withdrew from the commission, voicing concerns that the debate moderation had grown overly biased and poorly managed.
The two candidates, Trump and Biden, the two main candidates, made their own agreement. And kind of cut you guys out of the process. Is that correct?
Well, they're trying to.
I see. Why would they do that?
Because we're not nice people, I guess.
This created uncertainty over whether the major candidates would debate at all. But when CNN offered to host a debate, both Biden and Trump accepted. This change signified a major shift in how elections operate, with the candidates gaining greater power over the rules imposed on debates by negotiating directly with TV networks.
By accepting our invitation to debate, both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Number 8, Social Security. While neither candidate unveiled groundbreaking policy proposals during the 90-minute debate, they did touch on a number of topics that Americans, young and old, are concerned about.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline.
One key issue in particular is Social Security and Medicare, which are both in danger of running out of money in the near future if lawmakers don't address funding shortfalls. This is one of the few issues that both Republicans and Democrats alike want addressed, but lawmakers have so far been unable to find a solution.
I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
If you pay income taxes in the United States, part of your paycheck goes to these programs, but they might not be around long enough for you to begin taking money from the program in old age.
But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens.
Number 7, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s solo stream. Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did not qualify for the debate.
70% of Americans said they wanted me on that stage. About between 70 and 80%, depending on what poll you read, do not want to have to choose between President Biden and President Trump.
But that didn't stop the controversial descendant of one of America's most famous political families from giving his own answers to the questions asked by the debate moderators, just on his own stage and streamed on X.
This is existential. This is one of the problems that neither of these two will talk about. This is the reason that they need me on stage, because I would confront them with what they did.
Kennedy's live stream garnered millions of views, perhaps showing that some Americans are interested in looking beyond the conventional two-party system. Will it be enough to propel Kennedy to the White House? Probably not, but if there were ever an election where voters would consider voting for a third-party candidate, it would be this one.
I'm the only one who can beat President Trump. When I head-to-head with President Trump, I beat him. And I head-to-head with President Biden, I beat him in a landslide.
Number 6, foreign policy. The job responsibilities of the President of the United States extend far beyond the nation's borders, and the importance of global issues was evident during the debate.
I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year.
The candidates were asked multiple questions about global conflicts, such as Russia's continued invasion of Ukraine, the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and the U.S. military's 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan.
I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals like I fired the one that you mentioned.
The person sitting in the Oval Office represents Americans on the world stage, decides where American troops are deployed, and builds and breaks alliances. If you or a loved one serves in the armed forces, or even if you just enjoy traveling abroad, the events occurring far beyond America's shores can have a major impact on voters' lives.
We found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want.
Number 5, name-calling and personal attacks. Assuming historical trends continue, the most remembered moments from the debate will not be impassioned arguments over policies and legislation, but instead name-calling, personal attacks, and jabs.
The idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before.
This debate provided plenty of insults and barbs designed to be clipped and turned into viral memes across the internet. The most memorable exchange was perhaps President Biden saying former President Trump has the, quote, morals of an alley cat.
What are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one.
Trump then retorted by pointing to Biden's son Hunter, who was recently convicted of 3 felony gun-related charges. Trump also predicted that the president himself would become a convicted felon over his alleged foreign business dealings.
But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things.
Number 4, Roe v. Wade. For the past few years, the issue of abortion has been a key motivator for voters.
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban.
When the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022, medical termination of pregnancy ceased to be considered a constitutional right at the national level. This gives states greater power to restrict the divisive operation and makes its future legality uncertain.
The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do.
During the debate, the candidates were asked about their stance on this matter. President Biden expressed his desire to reinstate national protections on the procedure, while former President Trump celebrated the court's decision and his role in appointing 3 judges to the court, and reiterated his position that the issue should be decided at the state level.
What I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted.
Number 3, immigration. The Biden administration has faced frequent criticism over its federal immigration policies and the resulting influx of unauthorized migration across the United States southern border with Mexico.
President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch, overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns.
During the debate, Trump attacked Biden over immigration and border security, stating that unauthorized migrants were committing crimes throughout the country and living in luxury hotels paid for by taxpayers in New York City.
They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. and he doesn't care about our veterans.
Biden pushed back on these claims, stating that during Trump's time as president, he allowed families to be separated at the border and put in cages. Voters rank immigration as a key issue that influences their vote, and the candidates' answers to these questions may have won over or lost pivotal support.
We found ourselves in a situation where, when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go.
Number 2, Biden's struggles versus Trump's lies. In a media landscape where different news sources often draw completely different conclusions from highly charged political events, 2 things were clear from the first debate. President Biden struggled, and former President Trump repeated a number of misleading statements and dangerous falsehoods.
It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter.
And these issues were the focal point of debate coverage around the world, in both liberal and conservative news outlets. Biden often appeared confused and struggled to articulate his answers, doing little to alleviate concerns that he is too old to serve an additional 4 years in office.
Dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
Trump lied unchecked about topics as widespread as abortion, the Mexico-U.S. border, drugs, and accepting election results. Regardless of how you feel about either candidate, this debate did little to encourage the electorate about their options, with the UK's newspaper The Guardian saying, quote, "The true losers of this presidential debate were the American people."
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Who's the better golfer? The top moment from the night was also the most baffling, and perhaps the least relevant to voters, unless the election ends up being decided by the nation's most avid golfers.
Just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it.
Faced with a question about each candidate's mental and physical strength, Biden and Trump instead chose to bicker about who was the better golfer. Biden bragged about his gold handicap and challenged Trump to a game, which elicited a laugh from Trump.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
How does this relate to politics? It's anyone's guess, but the exchange proved to be an accurate encapsulation of a confusing and, at times, unintentionally funny night.
I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
Did you watch the debate? Let us know in the comments what you thought about the night. Please keep it civil.
And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.